All right. Thank you for joining me on Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. I hope the volume is taken care of. I went back, redid the microphone, but I was getting about 4 minutes into that. But what were we expecting? So I was just talking about that you couldn't hear. Leading up to this game, I was getting in the pit of my stomach, maybe in the back of my brain, as the lead up to this, watching all the hype, watching all the fans there. I was really getting nervous, and I think I was reverting back to just a lifetime. I'm 42 years old, so I've had a lifetime of watching Indiana really be bad at football. But it was starting to creep in. I'm thinking Nebraska is going to come out and they are going to be fired up in this game. They had the bye. They got a coach that's really trying to change the culture there. I was really thinking, how's Indiana going to respond to this? Because Indiana has just never really shown up for a big game. Or really ever had big time opportunities like this where, the big noon kickoffs in town. You got Gus Johnson doing the game with Joel Klatt. You got everybody watching you. You have a lot of pressure. I think starting to creep into my mind was, did Signetti do too much press this last week? He was really hyping up the team, all that stuff. But then there's no doubt about it. This team is performing at a level. It is just unreal. They are the most consistent performing team. Say what you will about the opponents they've faced. I'm sure a lot of people will sit here this next week and they'll say, well, Nebraska's not all that in a bag of chips. But, you only play the teams that you play. And Indiana has come out. They made Nebraska look like FIU. Let's just face it. Beating them 56-7. And here's what really stuck out to me. I went back last night. I was watching some of the Georgia-Texas game, and that's what really made me think, Georgia's, and they've played some stiffer competition, but they have played games where they have not shown up this year. And then Texas did the same thing in the first half of that game yesterday, just did not look good. Where, Indiana, they just have a consistent throttling effort that just wears teams down. You take these running backs they have, the running backs are killing it, but our offensive line has got to get a lot of credit. Our offensive line, what they have been able to do, it is unreal. Because I went back and watching those first 2 or 3 drives on offense. So, we were talking about how Nebraska is going to play that 3-3-5 and line up. They really line up their guys right on top of the tackles and then one guy right on top of the center. And that leaves a lot of spots where you might not know where the blitz is coming from, and it can be really difficult to deal with that Nebraska defense. Indiana just rolled over them. On the long run by Ellison early on in the game Indiana's line was getting to the second level and blocking guys. And even, I'll tell you, wide receivers, everybody on IU is just locking guys up, blocking. And it is just, yeah, the Rourke injury. I think he's going to be okay. But our offensive line has got to get some credit. After the game, I was watching Urban Meyer, and I do have to go to work here in just a few minutes, so I got to watch my time. I got about 8 minutes to talk. But Urban Meyer, he's talking about the Indiana offensive line, talking about going up. He's like, I wanted to stand beside these guys. I wanted to talk to the strength and conditioning coach. And, there's a guy that coached, some of the highest level people, and he is sitting there saying, I don't understand Indiana, but he's like saying the linemen, their linemen and what they've got on the offensive line. And these are mostly not transfers. What it is it's everybody's buying in. Signetti brought enough guys from JMU, and these guys, here's another thing I'm realizing. These guys have had a chip on their shoulder for like the last 4 years. See, they were playing in like the FCS, which I don't really understand all that. There's the FCS and there's the FBS. Then they changed over to the FBS, and they were still undefeated. You got to look at this team, and they were like 56-9. No matter where you're playing, that is successful. Just Google wins, Really bad joke there. But the um so these guys, when they went from the FCS to the FBS, they really got no credit for that either. And they were just kind of like shunned in a way to say, you're never going to be in the national spotlight playing at JMU. Now bring all these guys over to Indiana. They still got that same chip on their shoulder. And finally, like after playing so much, they are just getting better and better every week. And now they're in the Big Ten. They're not at JMU anymore. This is like national prominence is coming to town. Now, Indiana, we have not seen this yet. Every college team has a letdown game. I don't care who you are. I mean, if you watch Notre Dame lose to NIU, or you watch like Nebraska barely beat, Rutgers, or every team normally has a game, but we've not seen it out of this Indiana bunch. But this game, it seemed like it was a little bit close for a minute, but really when I went back and rewatched it last night, our line was just rolling over them. Their main issue was, even if they were able to stay in this game with Indiana and say Indiana made some mistakes and only scored 35 or 42, their main issue was they just could not stop us. And Indiana was really toying with them, running the ball and things late in the game. It was unreal, because you have just never seen that. I can't wait. I am going to the Michigan game, and this one, you just made it that much better. But you got Washington next. They're no pushover. I mean, Washington's going to be one of these teams. They're really going to come out fired up. I thought Nebraska was really going to come out and give Indiana a hard time in that game. And boy, oh boy, what I got my notes from the game, how about that catch by Cross? He only made one catch in the game, and that was unbelievable. And he had another catch like that earlier in the year. Curtis Rourke is just dealing out there. I wanted to make this video before I had to go watch Anthony Richardson play, but it's like Rourke and the thumb injury, I think he's going to be fine, just because he stayed out there. It reminded me so much of, what happened to Peyton Manning in the 2006 AFC Championship game. It's just like, yeah, if your thumbnail, that's just going to be kind of an annoying thing. But Cignetti said after the game, and I don't have the clip of it, but he said he's going to be just fine. He really did not seem that concerned about it. Maybe that's just his way, but I think he is going to be just fine for this game next week. But let's talk about Tavon Jackson. He comes in and was like, layered that pass into, I think this next game, which I don't want to see, because I want to see Rourke stay out there. I really want to see Rourke start to get in the conversation for like Big Ten Player of the Year, or at least be recognized in some way. So many of these guys, this Rourke has so much experience. I mean, he threw for over 7,000 yards before he ever got to Indiana. He's got a brother that plays in the CFL. I mean, and they talked about it during the game, where Cignetti, and this is where he really, as time goes on, I'm really starting to learn more and more about Curt Cignetti's pedigree and everything like that, because, he coached Phillip Rivers at NC State, which he must have had an assistant coaching gig there. And that's what Rourke really reminded him of. I know this live episode is getting very scatterbrained. Yeah, once in a lifetime event. It's like every week for the Hoosiers is going to be like a new, right now it's just that ratcheting up, like to the Michigan game. Now on the road, they're going to have some tough games on the road at Michigan State and at Ohio State. But can they stay undefeated up through Michigan? I think they could do it. There is no reason for us to even doubt this Indiana team that they're not going to do it, because we have just seen such a consistent effort, no matter who they're playing, no matter what the quarter. And I heard Cignetti after the game in the press conference. He's like, I was on fire in the fourth quarter. This guy, he he keeps everybody in line and on their toes and doing the right thing. And just the process-based thinking that he employs, that it's fast, fierce, relentless. Every play is a play unto itself. Don't be, don't get yourself too high or too low based on what's happening. I heard him say after the game, everything this guy says, I just eat it up. It's like, as he's pushing all the buttons right now that are just all the right buttons. But I mean, just what are you going to do? We have never seen anything like this. I'm almost dumbfounded. I almost like don't even know what to say. It's ridiculous. Like how, yes, this, I will tell you what I was telling my dad yesterday is that this gives me hope that Scott Dolson, who I think is a little bit of an elitist type guy, because he's been in the Indiana club. He was like the president of the board of the trustees, and he's like been in all those circles. But this shows he was able to see that this guy, was a little maybe rough around the edges and went and coached like IUP and Elon, but that Dolson is able to view like maybe some of the mistakes he's made hiring Archie Miller in the past, and maybe some other, maybe Tom Allen as well. And that really gives me a lot of hope for all of Indiana sports, because look, we gotta keep this guy. We gotta like double his salary if he's gonna go somewhere else, because this will bring such, if Indiana, and Urban Meyer said it before the game, and I have never understood it either, with the amount of people in the state of Indiana who love high school football, who love football in general, that we have like a big university with a lot of kids going to it. And we have everything in place. Now the facilities at Indiana, if you've seen the locker room that they renovated and all of the strength and conditioning, all the facilities are top notch. Like, I don't understand why we can't be a winner. I've never really understood it, except for the fact that we're just like, we're more focused on basketball than we are on this. So, hey, I mean, this is unreal. I have to go to work for the day. Thank you so much for watching. I will have another video coming out tomorrow. We'll break down more of Indiana, like what people are saying about them, what Signetti said after the game a little bit, and then going forward, like, where's Indiana going to be ranked? I really think they're going to be ranked inside the top 12 after this week, because I'll say maybe they don't have all of these top level pedigree guys like Georgia and Alabama and Texas and some of these other schools have, but their will and their want to, I think their ability to put this together and play as a collective group, and to really just, I mean, what we're seeing is just complete ass beatings. And we've never seen that in Indiana, not from the football team. We've seen it in soccer. We've seen it in swimming. We've seen it in a lot of different sports that Indiana's excelled at. But what they're doing right now, it's unreal. It's got me hyped up. And I will be down in Bloomington a lot over these next few weeks, watching the basketball team and then watching the football team. So I cannot wait for all that. Thank you so much for joining me on this. This was just a live stream edition. I really wanted to get I just had a lot of like instant reaction thoughts about the game. And I'll be making another video tomorrow. We'll be talking more about what this Hoosier team, what they are going to look like going forward. And the Curtis Rourke injury, we'll see if more information comes out on that, how that is prevailing. But thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.